So that was my thought process with Pumpcade. It's essentially the trenchification of prediction markets. It's fast-paced markets, instant settlement. You can kind of blend like the Zoomerification, or as I've been calling it, like the TikTokification of prediction markets with traditional markets. You think about it, you can enter and exit a position in a minute. You can buy into it and there's no counterparty risk of like, will this be resolved correctly? Or like, will this be gamed? It's not a token. Like there's no risk that this was like bundled in the beginning. Everyone has the exact same odds, so it's like a safer version of buying a meme coin. My advice is literally just ship something. Even if you think it's a silly idea, build it and release it, because Pumpcade started as the sloppiest little app to like play 2048 by typing up and down in a Pump.fun chat. And I shipped it, and then I just kept iterating on it. I have normie friends that know nothing about crypto, but they're on Polymarket placing bets every day. The streamer doesn't even have to know what's going on. They don't have to know that Pumpcade is being used in their stream. But if they stumble on what Pumpcade is down the line, like if they're a big streamer, they go to Pumpcade, they sign in directly with their Twitch. They use like Twitch Off. They have a wallet there waiting for them with a ton of money and fees that they didn't even know existed.
Hi everyone, and welcome back. Today we're talking with Pop Punk. For those of you who haven't seen him on the timeline and haven't seen Pumpcade, what's your background story?
I got into crypto in 2015, studied computer science in college, got into crypto there, had a career that spanned like a couple years working in TradFi. I hated it, wanted to just work full-time in crypto. Eventually I landed at Gemini in 2019, worked there for 2 years on the trading systems and engine team. Left there, wanted to just keep going deeper in crypto, learned how to ride Solidity at some hackathons, landed jobs leading protocol engineering, eventually led me to becoming obsessed with gas optimization and making my Twitter. That kind of branded me as like the gas guy. From that, started a gas optimization auditing company called Gaslight. We worked with some of the biggest protocols in the space, doing audits and optimizing their gas usage, making their contracts cost as little as possible. I ran a venture-backed startup that was a token launch pad approaching token sniping, spent some brief time at Limit Break working on their blockchain team, and then more recently I quit my job and I'm now the founder of Pumpcade.
And what problems do you see at the moment that you're looking to be solved in the future? Say 2 years' time, what would solved look like for a couple of the problems you're seeing right now?
I think one of the biggest things is like most of the volume on chain, especially from like crypto Twitter users, is coming from meme coins. It's coming from the trenches. The trenches to me seem like kind of a zero-sum game because there's so many bad actors in there. There's so many people just bundling, so many industrial deployers, so many rug pulls and stuff. And then on the flip side, prediction markets are really blowing up and there's tons and tons of volume there. I have normie friends that know nothing about crypto, but they're on Polymarket placing bets every day. I think that these types of people, the trenchers that have like 1 minute hold times and stuff like that, they don't have the patience for prediction markets, because a lot of prediction markets, the shortest ones would be like 24 hours. It'll be a market like, will it rain in New York City today? These people don't want to be in a position for 24 hours. They want to buy when number is small and sell when number is big, and they want that to last like a minute or two. So that was my thought process with Pumpcade. It's essentially the trenchification of prediction markets. It's fast-paced markets, instant settlement. You can kind of blend like the Zoomerification, or as I've been calling it, like the TikTokification of prediction markets with traditional markets.
One thing for me is kind of a bit more of an outsider from the prediction markets. I haven't used them a great deal. I have actually started seeing them come up on TikTok a lot, like Asmongold was talking about Kalshi already. So it's starting to get more into kind of just normie culture. Historically, I've done a lot with betting, sports betting, match betting, using exchanges. How do you see kind of prediction markets on chain different to just exchanges such as Betfair Exchange or Smarkets that people have been using for kind of must be over 10, 15 years at this point?
I think that prediction markets on chain, obviously it's, easier to onboard, easier to deposit money, and the speed in which they work. The thing that I like about Pumpcade and the way that I'm doing this market on chain is it's open, it's transparent, it's verifiable, but more importantly, markets resolve instantly, and they're powered through smart contract applications. So, if there's a market on Pumpcade, when the timer ticks down to 0, the market's resolved instantly on chain, and then anyone can claim like their winnings immediately. So I think it's the whole concept of like verifiable, open, and then just the speed in which you can, do these markets.
I think speed is a massive one, and kind of the openness. I think you mentioned already what you see the trenches with, that zero sum, most people are winning because they tend to already know what the results going to be. How difficult do you think it's going to be for them to transition into a prediction market where it is almost out of their control? We're seeing a couple of stories blow up where maybe there is a bit of insider trading on some of the markets, but for a lot of them, it is very hard to end up gaming it. Do you think there'll be a transition, or do you think this is actually just going to bring in a new audience?
There's kind of two parts to that. I think it's going to bring people over from like traditional like trenches and meme coin trading, but I do think it's going to bring new people in, like normies that aren't normally using like prediction markets. It's people that serial Twitch watchers or like people that love watching live streams and stuff on Kick. I do think that the concept of how I'm running the markets with Pumpcade, it's just going to be too interesting, I think, for like people that want to trade and people that want to make money to ignore, because if you think about it, you can enter and exit a position in a minute. You can buy into it and there's no counterparty risk of like, will this be resolved correctly, or like, will this be gamed? It's not a token. Like there's no risk that this was like bundled in the beginning. Everyone has the exact same odds, so it's like a safer version of buying a meme coin. Obviously, I'm not trying to take on the trenches. I'm not trying to like be the king of like trading. I just want to take the prediction market kind of like style, twist it in a new way where it's interesting for these types of people that are constantly like buying and selling all day, and bring them into it.
And with that idea of trying to avoid the fact that meme coins could be bundled, someone could be doing kind of bad acting behind it, is there kind of restrictions on what markets Pumpcade could even be used for because of that?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, Pumpcade doesn't support arbitrary markets. So someone can't go on there and create a market and it's like, will the streamer say the word banana? Because obviously the streamer can just, bet a lot on yes or no and say banana whenever they want. Pumpcade has predefined preset markets that you can select from, and these are only things that Pumpcade can resolve itself. You cannot create any market outside of this, and the reason for this is Pumpcade has custom support to resolve all of these markets automatically. So examples of this are like on-chain related things related to volumes and market caps, things for games related to like, will I win this next game of League of Legends or Clash Royale or Counter-Strike, or one of the newest ones that I teased yesterday was Rip.fun is a platform where you can pull Pokemon card packs on chain, and I integrated that so you can predict on, the price or the types of cards that people are pulling from packs. So it's pretty much just going to be like an endless library of types of markets that we'll support, and the goal for that is we want to fully eliminate counterparty risks. We don't want to have like the weird situations. For example, Polymarket had that market where it was like, will Zelensky wear a suit, and they couldn't figure out if like what he wore was actually a suit or not. For Pumpcade, we want to have like nothing left up in the air. It's just clear cut. Oh yeah, this guy won this game of League of Legends. Look, here's the actual link to the API where this is resolved. Or will the market cap of the token like go above this number? Like, look, we could see at exactly this time, this was the state of the pool reserves for that token. Therefore, the market cap was exactly this, so we can prove it.
And if I was thinking like along the lines of a bad actor, are some of the ones where people are targeting smaller coins could almost inherit some of the earlier risks? So you're saying about market cap or volume, if it's already a small token that's only just launched, is there again that risk that I could influence the outcome before Pumpcade, or that would just be so obvious that users probably just aren't going to be kind of going against that kind of thing?
For like the sake of the market cap, where it's like, will the market cap go up? If it's a low cap token, we can always look into like not allowing specific markets for tokens under a certain market cap. But I do think it is interesting for these kinds of markets. The market cap is really low. Someone could move it if they want, like someone can move it up, but at the same time, if it's really easy for them to move the market up, it's really easy for someone to move the market down. So those types of cases where it's like a low cap token, it's kind of PvP on both sides. So people can try to influence the market, but anyone can do it if it's easy to do it. So that's definitely something that I'm gonna like heavily keep my eye on early. If it just turns out to be like too much PvP and mayhem and chaos, then we just restrict those types of markets to tokens that, they have to meet like a market cap threshold already.
Yeah, I think if I was putting loads of money in to try and make it go up just to win kind of the prediction on Pumpcade, maybe I'm taking more risk there than it's actually going to pay out. So it kind of self-defeating. Before we get too far, why do you think that prediction markets are only just kind of getting attention and blowing up now? What do you think was the lag between kind of crypto starting and this being a possibility to kind of now?
I think regulation was definitely important. Obviously, like, Kalshi went directly down the route of being like regulated from the start. Polymarket had like crazy issues, like raided by the FBI and stuff like that. But I think one of the biggest things that kind of like made prediction markets blow up was the elections. You have Shane like on TV saying Polymarket has accurately predicted the election, and he's on like 60 Minutes saying there's basically nothing more accurate in the world than Polymarket. Like, the way that Polymarket is forecasting and predicting these things, it's on the nose every single time. And just like the amount of coverage and stuff that Polymarket and Kalshi had on the news made prediction markets kind of escape the crypto Twitter velocity. They're mainstream now, and it's only going to continue to get better and bigger. Because look, 2 months ago, Polymarket raised a $2 billion round at $9 billion valuation. A week ago or a couple days ago, Kalshi raised $1 billion at $11 billion. These companies are just continuing to grow, and they have, now the amount of money to do crazy marketing. And I think that prediction markets are only going to get bigger and bigger. And in the grand scheme of things, crypto Twitter and the amount of people that we talk to on a day-to-day basis is so small compared to like retail. And those are like the types of people that are going to get into prediction markets. Once you're no longer dealing with a couple thousand people active on crypto Twitter every day, you're talking to millions of people outside of that. It's only going to scale and it's only going to elevate.
Following that kind of idea of bringing more retail in, and that's where a lot of the attention came from. And I always think it's a better audience to go for if you can, because crypto Twitter people are fickle. They turn on you quickly if something doesn't go right. And there's only about 5 people at the moment anyway. Is that kind of key when you were thinking of what stack Pumpcade was going to be built on? So you've commented previously about Privy, Moonpay, sponsored transactions. You said historically you were, reducing gas. Is that kind of something that you've really got to think about in the idea of bringing on people who aren't really in the ecosystem normally?
1000%. The way that Pumpcade is built, allowing you to place bets from the live chat, means that I have to use embedded wallets. So I was always going to use Privy. It's like a no-brainer that I'm using Privy. I'm going to hide the transaction pop-ups to abstract away the blockchain interactions and stuff. But then it's going one step further, and I also want you to be able to deposit like with your credit card using Moonpay, because if I'm abstracting away the blockchain transactions, I should also abstract away kind of the entire platform itself being crypto. Because if I could, be the biggest add-on built on top of Pump.fun, that's cool. But I'm still I'm a big fish in a relatively small pond. Pump streaming is not that big, as opposed to I want to take over Twitch, I want to take over Kick, I want to take over YouTube. I want to be a big fish in a giant pond. And these types of users on there, they're not crypto native. Yeah, you could have really cool onboarding and explain to them, hey, go to Coinbase, sign up for Coinbase, buy your crypto like this. Or you could abstract that away entirely and be like, here, you can use your credit card, you can buy essentially credits for Pumpcade. So abstracting away the blockchain, I think, is so important, especially because people in gaming, YouTubers and stuff, through the NFT craze, people just kind of grew to hate cryptocurrency. Every YouTuber, every streamer that launched a token, did a promotion or an NFT collection, they hated it. And I think we saw this. Mr. Beast a year or two ago came out with a gaming league. People didn't realize it was powered by NFTs under the hood. And as soon as some of the creators, the big creators, realized that, they dropped out of it, and they were pretty much crypto is a scam. So the reputation for that is still just really, really bad. So I want to make it to a normal user. You don't even have to know that it's crypto. You can onboard with your credit card. You can offboard funds directly to your bank account and stuff like that. And I just think that that is so critically important to get people outside of the crypto Twitter ecosystem to use your product. And that's who you want to go for if you're building a consumer application in blockchain, is you want to build for the people that aren't on crypto Twitter.
And if we're considering these people who aren't on crypto Twitter, aren't in the ecosystem, we're putting all the blockchain stuff kind of behind the scenes as it is. Is there anything in your planning so anyone can still check what's happened, because transparency and being able to see it kind of was one of the key points you mentioned? How do you make it so that me as a user who maybe doesn't understand any of the blockchain still gets the benefit of that transparency that the blockchain actually offers?
So there's 2 ways to do it. And it's basically when a market is resolved, you'll be able to see the exact transaction on chain where the market is resolved. That helps the people that actually know the blockchain. But then after that, we'll have another way to view the resolution data, and it's human readable. We'll show that this was the game that like the League of Legends streamer was in. He had this many kills. This was how long the game was. This was the game outcome. So you just show both the Web 2 logic and the Web 3 logic that resolved the market so people can see this is what happened. In the example of a League of Legends game, give them a link and they'll like click it and go to League of Legends stats API and see the exact game where like the resolution data came from. So anyone can see, yeah, this was actually resolved. It's not just random yes or no.
Kind of touching on Twitch, I've seen products before that try and almost be an overlay over Twitch. There's some forecasting games that have tried it, a few Web3, a few kind of Web2. And then Twitch itself has its native poll system where people can use their own kind of Twitch, not currency, but, you know, the collectibles that you get. How much or how deep down that rabbit hole have you gone to see what the user behavior and the user appetite actually looks like?
I've looked specifically into projects that have tried to do something similar to Pumpcade, any kind of like betting and stuff. And there's two examples of them. There is Lux and then there's Sweep, but neither of them did it in a way where it's native to the platform, in the sense that like you have to watch a live stream on a different platform. You have to go to the different website to watch the stream. And I think that's where they kind of fail. You're never going to take users away from like the platform where they want to do something. I've been watching live streams since I was like 15 years old and I'm 30 now. There's no way that someone's going to bring me away and be like, hey, instead of watching on Twitch, you know, the website that you've been on for 10 years, watch it here now. And then you have access to all this stuff. So my thought process from like literally day zero was I want to build this cool functionality into these streaming platforms and I want it to look like it's native to the platform. So that's why building a Chrome extension for me was a no-brainer, because the thought process is when a market is created, you see the market under the live stream. It literally, to people, if you have the extension, it feels like Twitch built this, or it feels like Pump built this, or it feels like Kick built this. So everything is native to the platform. And then the way that you bet is the exact same way that you normally type in a chat. It's nothing unique. You just type predict $10 yes, and it just works. So making it feel like native exactly to the platform, I think is what gives Pumpcade the edge compared to like other people that have tried to do something similar to this.
I know I asked a question in DMs when we first started talking about using it on mobile. Personally, I saw mobile as a big area where I might use it. And you were saying that mobile is kind of a focus, but then also just explaining a bit about how a streamer could set it up. How much kind of goes into making sure that it is more accessible so more people can get involved?
First and foremost, like, because you can predict directly from the chat, that immediately opens up the ability to predict for mobile users. If the streamer themselves is the one that creates the market, they'll create the market on the Pumpcade platform and it automatically generates the widget for them with a green screened background, so they can just screen capture that and put it directly onto their live stream for people to see. Outside of that, if mobile users really do want to participate, they can just keep, you know, another tab open. They can watch on the Twitch app and then have a tab open and just go between it. And the Pumpcade platform is an aggregator of all of the live markets. There's two parts to Pumpcade. It's the browser extension and then the website. And the website is a full-fledged prediction market platform. They can see exactly what market is live and what live stream and stuff. And they can, you know, swipe to the side, see that there's a market, swipe back to Twitch, you know, predict directly from there.
Say it gets really popular. Maybe it isn't the streamer, or maybe the streamer starts one, but then someone else starts one. How does it handle if loads of people are trying to do predictions on the same stream?
There's no difference, essentially. So like the chat client that I wrote is very, very robust. Twitch chats and like the tech behind the live stream chats is basically never going to change, and it's always going to be open because there's companies that their full-time jobs is building add-ons and moderation bots and stuff for Twitch. So the Pumpcade service receives messages even before they're displayed to like the Twitch screen. So we have every single message in real time. The amount of spam, it just doesn't matter. We process every single message. We will associate, if we see a Pumpcade related command, we associate that user to their wallet and we just let them predict. So the way that it scales is it essentially does scale like infinitely.
You've mentioned kind of across the timeline how fees end up getting split, and that becomes almost the incentive for the people to make the market and maybe even the streamer to do it themselves. How much of this is going to be driven by kind of that creator economy angle?
For everyone listening, the way fees are split is they're split in three ways. Predominantly to almost half to the Pumpcade protocol, almost half to the streamer, and then a small sliver is cut out for the person that created the market. It costs nothing to create a market. Anyone can create a market in any stream, and you'll take a share of the volume from that market. The streamer themselves gets money, because I think that that's really interesting, and I think it'll probably create some viral moments down the line where, like, you know, the streamer doesn't even have to know what's going on. They don't have to know that Pumpcade is being used in their stream, but if they stumble on what Pumpcade is down the line, like if they're a big streamer, they go to Pumpcade, they sign in directly with their Twitch, they use like Twitch Auth, they have a wallet there waiting for them with a ton of money in fees that they didn't even know existed. I do think that like the way that Pumpcade is going to spread early is just the fact that anyone can create a market, cost them nothing, and they have a chance at generating fees. So that incentivizes people to just be going to every single live stream spamming markets. So the goal is having as many active markets at a given time, and then, you know, the more number of markets, the more likelihood that someone's going to be like predicting and stuff like that.
Kind of when you're looking ahead, you've mentioned a couple of exciting moments that could come up with the financialization and kind of the incentives to do it. What risks do you see? What kind of things are you keeping? Actually, we want to make sure that this doesn't start happening.
Definitely is like being really careful with the type of markets that Pumpcade supports, constantly monitoring them to make sure they can't be gamed and stuff like that. One of the early risks that I thought about was just bots. If bots predict early, they'll get the biggest rewards, because that's just how these like parimutual types of markets work. Or on the flip side, a market could be 1 second away from ending. A bot could come in with a massive prediction and sway. They would have an inflated reward because they got in at the end. So I approach that on the protocol level by using time-weighted parimutual markets. So essentially, there's a modifier that starts at 100% in the beginning, and for the first 10% of the market duration, so for a 60-second market, for the first 6 seconds, the modifier is the same for everyone. So everyone has a chance to get in. And then the later you get into the market, the more that modifier decays, so that a bot that tries to come in at the last second and snipe the market, they have a much lower reward. Just making sure that the market's being fair is the most important thing. And then anything else that really comes up after that is just kind of like roll with the punches.
And with that idea of it being a bit more complex than just money go in, split it with this time weighted in there. For a lot of what I've seen on the timeline around prediction markets, most people are excited because they're bad at maths for a lot of it. I don't know a polite way to put it particularly. How much do you think that having all this complexity under the hood around how the markets work is going to matter, or is it going to be quite obvious within the app itself that actually don't worry about how this weighting maths goes on? You can find out if you want to, but you don't actually need to understand the maths behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's a little bit easier to understand than like a traditional prediction market where you have to worry about the, you know, yes was at this cents value when I bought it, now it's like moving up to this and stuff. Pumpcade is really just the yes and no aren't factored into it. If it's 99% yes and you're buying it no, you're not paying less. The way that like the parimutual markets work is all bids go into the same pool, and then you apply time weighting to like their bids to give them the shares that they got. At the end, when the market is resolved, the winning side just takes the losing side distributed pro rata. So it's a lot simpler to understand for the average user. It's just going to be like, oh, look, I predicted yes, I won. A lot of people probably won't care about the actual market dynamics. Obviously have docs and like stuff on the website that tells you these exact things. I'm a lot less concerned with people being confused with how it works, because at a high level, the markets are pretty simple. Obviously, at a low level, they're really intricate with the implementation.
I guess it depends on what users end up using it for in terms of the type of market. It might even come down to vibes. This guy's been on a streak of his League of Legends matches, and he's picked his pocket pick for top. I don't need to see what the maths is doing. My opinion, he's going to win, kind of thing. So I guess it depends on what users decide that they want to go and bet on more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, let them use like whatever probability skills they want. It's like, oh, maybe this guy streaming Clash Royale has won 50 games in a row. There's probably a high chance that he'll win the next one. But on the flip side, it's like, ooh, maybe I want to be a contrarian. And that's why the contrarian model for parimutual markets, the way that Pumpcade markets are implemented, is super interesting, because I've tweeted about this before, but because it's just the winning side takes the losing side, you can have a wild case where, like, let's say there's $10,000 on yes. Every single person has predicted yes. If one person comes in and predicts 1 cent on no, and no happens to win, that dude's getting all $10,000 less fees. So it's like an interesting case. The payouts and ROI can be so wildly inflated with the way that these markets work, I do expect a lot of people to want to be like the underdog bidders on every single market.
Do you think that might, again, you've touched on bots already, and I know that bots already exist that go after Polymarket and Kalshi for just, the slight changes, picking up a cent here or there. Is there anything you can do about that, or do you think it's just part of the game?
I mean, I do think it's part of the game. If things did get crazy or whatever, like, obviously I can just have minimum bet sizes and stuff like that. At the end of the day, you're not going to stop bots. You can just do as much as you can to make it fair and essentially put other users on the same playing field as bots. So, like, that was the thought process with the time waiting. If a bot is going to bot, they want to get into the market instantly. Make it so that it's not just the first millisecond where everything is fair. Give a pretty wide range of time where everyone has the chance to get in. So it's essentially just trying to put all users on the same playing field. Obviously, as this rolls out and we see how markets work, it's probably going to be a continuously iterating period to see how the markets work and stuff. Like, not too like concerned with that and stuff.
Just on to kind of your history that you've already mentioned and how you're kind of building with Pumpcade. You said, I picked up a tweet and you mentioned it in the intro that you've just gone kind of you've gone full time on it. Why start solo, building small? Why not go out, hey, taking on Polymarket hype, look how much money they've got, come give me some money and we can go big to start with? Why are you going for that kind of small, building it up approach?
I think it's interesting specifically with how the token was launched. Pumpcade started as me being really interested in Twitch Plays Pokemon, which was during COVID, which for anyone doesn't know, someone basically rigged a Twitch live stream to listen to commands and those would play a game of Pokemon. And it was super sloppy, super inefficient. It would take like days to do really simple medial tasks, but I loved that medium. I spent a couple hours one night and I whipped up my own version and it was basically a Pump.fun chat, listen to commands, and it controlled a game of 2048, the puzzle game. I left that up for 24 hours, people liked it, but I kept going deeper down a rabbit hole of what's a more interesting way that I can use a live chat to power something. So the next iteration of Pumpcade was a fully AI autonomous arcade where people opted to join from the chat, and then an AI would roll stats for them and it would simulate these mini games, gave out a bunch of money and prizes. But then I had this take a step back eureka moment where I was, people are watching these live streams on Pump, they have a wallet. They should be able to use the wallet in the live stream. So I built the embedded wallet system powered by Privy and let people control a wallet from a chat. And that was when I had this eureka moment. And I'm like, if you can control a wallet from one chat, you can control a wallet from every chat. Prediction markets are really hot. I love live streams. I wanted to speculate on live streams forever. We can do real-time, fast-paced embedded prediction markets everywhere. As soon as I had that idea is basically when I immediately quit my job and I was like, shit, like I want to do this time. And the way that the token was launched, for the first 10 days, it was at like 80K market cap. Anyone could get into it. This was so fairly launched. I didn't bundle it. I didn't snipe it. People really had the opportunity to essentially like buy into my company really, really early. I could go down the route of being like, I want to take on Polymarket. I want to take on Kalshi. But to me, it's like the thing that I'm building is so very different. And it's almost complementary to these platforms because these are much longer markets. These are markets anyone can create. These are really fast paced. I just see Pumpcade as so different. So that's why, I've been really taking my time with building this. Obviously, the team right now is just me. It's not always going to be like that. But the approach that I've kind of been taking is I treated this for a side project as long as I could. But then as soon as I got the thought process of what this could really become is when I just full sent it. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff to come. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't been able to talk about. But sentiment on crypto Twitter seems really good when people are like, this is just one guy going like schizo crazy in his basement building this whole thing. And yeah, I like that right now.
And then you've got the closed testing coming up soon. Maybe, is it next week? I can't remember exactly. This will go out after it's already gone live anyway. Why starting closed? Do you want to just control the chaos or what's the plan?
I do want to control the chaos. I do also kind of want to like FOMO some people as, oh shit, I should have signed up for the beta. But yeah, this is something that is just so very new. And I do want to make sure that things go well, the tech is good, because the worst thing that could happen is, I've been a crypto builder for 8 years at this point. And if you go live with something and it's a flop, people, especially in this industry where things are related to money, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot and people won't want to go back to it. So I've just been super careful with the way that I'm building this. Obviously, like the protocol is audited, and I just want to make sure that it's rolled out in a way where it's controlled in the beginning.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think you've got a lot of chaos that's going to be happening with it anyway. Letting too many people in, probably a bit more chaos than kind of required.
Essentially make sure that like once this rolls out and it's like you can create a market literally anywhere on Twitch, Kick, anywhere. I need to make sure that the tech is battle tested because anyone can create a market because they're going to want to farm fees. It's a very high possibility that this is live in 10,000 markets at a time. There's a possibility that people are going to write bots and scripts to like just have markets constantly churned out, and the tech just has to be perfect for it.
And I've got a few kind of quick fire questions. One word to describe the Pumpcade beta drop.
Mayhem.
Nice. Favorite bad math degen prediction? So we've already covered a little bit on why some people might want to take the contrarian approach. What contrarian approaches have you already seen, or ones that you suspect will come up?
I do think that we're going to see like really, really interesting use cases of the contrarian types of markets on Pumpcade. Someone creates a wild market and it's like, will a $50,000 card be pulled on rip.fun? And everyone's obviously going to say no, but that one dude that says yes is going to like come up with some wild payout and stuff. So I'm really excited to see things happen like that and really viral moments just due to the nature of how like Pumpcade markets are implemented and different than traditional markets.
And I'm going to jump off my quick fire ones because you said something I am interested in. How do you see kind of taking social media outside of Twitter? So we're looking at, say, TikTok, YouTube, these viral moments you're mentioning. How much are you gearing to the idea that people will end up trying to share these as videos almost?
Definitely very, very likely. I'm going to be scaling the team. Most of the hires are engineering, but one of the most important hires to me is a go-to-market and a growth person. And I'm talking to people that like specifically have crazy experience with Twitch, with YouTube, with TikTok. I have experience working with talent agencies and stuff like that and creators. Because I know now my wife sees like shit about Polymarket on TikTok. I want to make sure that all of this stuff is like everywhere that it can be. Obviously, I'm just a really, really autistic developer, so I don't know about anything other than like Twitter. It's a miracle that I even have 30,000 followers on Twitter because I mostly just shitpost, but I do want to make sure that Pumpcade is everywhere that it should be, and you know, I'll just hire the right people to put it everywhere.
Back into quickfire, do you think that prediction markets will kill the trenches?
No. I mean, I think it's like another way to almost use the trenches, but I don't think prediction markets are going to kill meme coins. I think meme coins are always going to exist. I just see it as like something else to do.
One feature that you'll never add, no matter how much people beg for it.
Arbitrary markets. Letting anyone create a custom market. There have been platforms that do that and say they have the best AI oracles and stuff to resolve anything. I'll never do that. I want to make sure that these markets are resolved correctly. So Pumpcade will always be predefined markets. There can be like a really rare case if a huge streamer wants to like partner with Pumpcade, we'll give them the ability to resolve the market themselves. But it has to be like a really big streamer that is known and trusted and won't game it. But yeah, arbitrary markets will never be open to the public.
On Solana at the moment, will you be Solana forever or multi-chain, or what are your thoughts on chains?
So, like, my background is I've forever been an EVM dev at one of, like, the highest levels. It's interesting for me now to work on Solana. I just think the demand is for a product like this, especially a consumer application, is really good on Solana. I like the speed. I like the tech. I've fortunately been able to get introed to, like, a bunch of people on Solana, so the experience is good. I think the protocol will probably always live on Solana. In terms of, like, other chains, what I can do is open up cross-chain deposits. So you could, like, deposit, say, base ETH, and it's converted to, like, Solana USDC in the background and stuff. Right now, plans are pretty much just strictly Solana, and if I want to get into EVM stuff like that, it would just be cross-chain deposits. That's not to say it might change like in the future, but for now, yeah, pretty much just Solana.
You've touched on kind of just being a lunatic with a computer, quitting your job as soon as you had your eureka moment. What's a quick message for any other solo builders out there at the moment?
My advice is literally just ship something. Even if you think it's a silly idea, build it and release it, because Pumpcade started as the sloppiest little app to like play 2048 by typing up and down in a Pump.fun chat. And I shipped it, and then I just kept iterating on it. If you told me like then that this is what I would be building now, there's no way that the dots would connect like that. But my thought process has always been build something and ship it. You might think it's stupid, you might think it's not going to do well, but you're not going to know what comes from it if you don't literally just like YOLO it and try.
I think that's a very good final message. It's been great chatting with you, and I look forward to seeing what Pumpcade gets up to in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you for having me.